This is the GMAT 41 Support Student Education Initiative Program. You are welcome to our General Basic Science class. In our class today, I'll be teaching you the changes that matter on the go. You would recall that in our previous lesson, we learned about matter. We also talked about the states of matter, solid, liquid, and gas. We looked at the differences between these three states of matter. So today, what changes does matter on the go? That is our interest. Changes that matter on the go, that's what we are looking at. There are two major changes that matter on the go. One of them is known as physical change, and the other is known as chemical change. On the board here, you have these two types of changes that matter on the go. The question now is, what do we mean by physical change and what is chemical change? When we talk about physical change, it is simply the type of change that matter on the go in which no new substance is formed. No new substance is formed. So whenever matter undergoes a physical change, we don't expect to get any new thing. Alright? Even if there is a change, what that matter changed to, it can still change from that thing back to what it was before. Is that okay? Think, for example, when you have water. If I give you water and you put that water inside a refrigerator is a cold space. I hope you know that, right? Now, over time, what will happen to that water? The water, which is in liquid form, all right, will start changing continuously down to becoming a solid. That solid, we call it ice. You've heard of ice water, is that not so? And even your ice cream, you know, that ice cream can also be in liquid form when it is kept inside a refrigerator and you leave it for some time. It will now change to ice. Then again, you know that water in liquid form can also change to vapor. That vapor, we call it steam. All these are examples of what? Physical change. Because you can still change the things that are formed to what they changed from. For example, when you have water, maybe a sachet water, your pure water as we call it commonly, sachet water, we drink that. Is that okay? That's water. That is liquid form. If you keep it in the refrigerator, like I said, it will solidify. It will turn to solid, which is ice. That water also can change to steam. That is gaseous form, to gas. Are you following? Alright, another example of a physical change can also be seen when you pour salt into water. If you pour salt into water and you turn the water, you keep turning, what will happen to those salt particles? They will start disappearing until you will no longer see the salt particles that you poured into water. The only way you can get to know that there is salt in it is when you taste it. When you taste the water with your tongue. Are you following, right? The taste will tell you that it's like they added salt to the water. But although the salt particles, okay, that you poured, it disappeared, we call that dissolution. We call it what? Dissolution. Or you can say the salt has dissolved in the water. It is possible for you to get the salt back again. All you need to do is to heat that water that you dissolved the salt in. What do we mean by heating? Simply carry the container. It could be a pot that you have water into which you poured the salt, turned it, and the salt disappeared. Carry that container or that pot, keep it on top of anything that can heat. It could be your stove or your gas. Then leave it to continue heating. Once the water boils and boils off, you start seeing some of the salt particles that you poured into the water before, which disappeared into the water. We say it's called to dissolve or dissolution. So that thing is still a physical change because you can still get back that salt. Alright, note, physical change can be reversed. I said that just now, is that not so? Because no new substance is formed when matter undergoes physical change. So it means you can reverse the process. I've given you some examples like ice water can be changed back to liquid water. That liquid water can be changed to gas, which is steam or vapor. So the process is also called reversible process. Physical change is also called a reversible process or a reversible change. Is that okay? Now on the board here I have these lines I drew, and I showed you some things, the three states of matter: solid, liquid, and gas. Okay, so I gave an example of ice here. The ice, which is a solid, can change to liquid. Look at this arrow. You can see the way the arrow is pointing. It's pointing to the right there. Are you following? So from solid, it changes to what? Liquid. On top of this arrow pointing to liquid, I wrote something on top here, which I call melting. Melting. It means if you have solid, for example, ice, changing to liquid, maybe liquid water, the process is called melting. When we say process, that is what is happening. What is happening that is changing this solid to liquid is called melting. Now, if the liquid now, for example, liquid water, changes back to solid, remember we say in physical change, no new substance is formed. So what it's changed to, you can still reverse it, you can still change it back. So this liquid water, if it changes back to solid, you can see the down arrow now pointing to the left, that is to solid. The process that changes liquid to solid, we call it freezing. That means that whenever liquid is changing to solid, what is happening is called what? Freezing. Now let us look at liquid to gas. If liquid is changing to gas, you can see the arrow pointing to that gas there with the black line. What is happening there? The process is called vaporization. So when liquid changes to gas, we call it vaporization. Then look at the gas now changing back to liquid. We call it condensation. That gaseous form, that gas, like for water now, when you boil water, you see something like smoke, we call it steam. It can change back to liquid from that gas form. When it is changing from gas to liquid, the process, what is happening is called condensation. I hope you get what I just explained. Don't worry, you're going to watch a video showing that. Okay, sublimation is another process that you should know. When solid changes directly to gas, that is to say solid is changing, but it does not change to liquid first. It will change directly to gas. We call what happens there, that process is called sublimation. For example, iodine crystal. There is a substance we call iodine crystal. Sorry, I don't have it with me here, and so I cannot be able to show you that, okay? Iodine crystal or ammonium chloride, they are chemicals, solid chemicals, okay? They are solid. When you heat them, they will change directly to gas without passing through the liquid state first. They won't change to liquid. They will just change directly to gas. We call that sublimation. Now we've explained all you need to know for now about physical change. Please give attention to the video you're going to see next. All right, so you are going to see a process of vaporization. All right, this container has water in it, and then it's on a heat source. It is on a heat source, so the water is heating. I'm going to open it, and when I open it, you would notice something come out like smoke. All right, that is actually steam. All right, that steam coming out from the water is a process known as vaporization. So you watch. So you notice something came out, right? Like smoke. That is vaporization. Then take a look at the surface of the cover of this container. Did you notice some things dropping? You can see something moving. Liquid. That is not steam. Now, we could get this liquid, you can see how it's rolling, all right, on the surface of the cover of the container. It is because the steam you saw, which is vapor now, you can say maybe gas, some of them could not escape completely. They were trapped by the cover of this container. And because they were trapped, they lost their energy. So they changed from steam to liquid. That is from gaseous form of water to liquid. You can see that. That process is known as condensation. In this video, I am going to talk about chemical change, another type of change that matter on the go. So what is chemical change? A chemical change is that type of change that matter undergo in which a new substance is formed. So if you have matter and that matter, either solid or liquid or gas, once it undergoes a chemical change, you expect to get a new substance. Some examples of chemical change, we have them on the board I wrote. Burning of wood. If you burn wood, you're going to get either charcoal or you get ashes, that is ash. Is that okay? Now, this burning of wood, some people use it to cook. I've used it to cook before. Maybe you've seen someone or your parent use firewood to cook. Now, as the wood is burning, it's burning. So what's going to happen to the wood? You'll see the wood changing to charcoal, which is black. All right, it's black. Now, if the burning is very high and continuously, the charcoal can change and burn completely into ash. That is a chemical change because the charcoal that was obtained, which is the new substance, or the ashes that was obtained, which is a new substance, you cannot change the charcoal or the ashes back to the wood that you burnt. You can't change the ashes or the charcoal back to the wood that was burnt. The wood is matter undergoing change into charcoal or ash, as the case might be. Alright, another example is burning of paper. It's a chemical change. What about burning of kerosene or even burning of gas, like the gas we use at home for cooking? You've heard of gas cooker, right? In the gas cylinder, you have your gas. Either you or your parents always go to fill the gas. Now let me ask you a question. Why is it that after your parents or maybe you fill your gas cylinder, you use it to cook, with time, you say, the gas is finished, let me go and fill it up. You take it to a gas station to fill it again. What happened to the one you filled before that you were using to cook? It's a chemical change that has happened to it. It has reacted. You know, when you're using the gas to cook, it usually comes out with fire. It's a fire that cooks your food for you when you place your pot on the gas cooker. So the fire is actually being produced by that gas. The gas is what is burning and bringing out the fire. So with time, that gas will burn off completely. It will burn off completely. And so you have to go and fill it again. When that gas is burning, there is no way you can keep that gas as it is burning. You cannot change what it burns to back to the gas it was before. I hope you're following. Another example of a chemical change is rusting of iron. Have you seen an iron that rusted before? Now let me tell you something. Maybe you go close to your window at home or your door, or maybe any iron that is close by around your house. Watch that iron over time. You will notice that the color of that iron will not remain like that over some time, maybe months or years. It will start rusting. You'll be seeing something, the color changing to something like brown. What is happening there is a chemical change. Anytime you have iron and that iron is exposed to air and water, are you following, right? Air and water, reaction takes place. We call it chemical change. So that rusting of iron, you cannot change it back to the original iron that you had before. Alright, now that we've known what chemical change is, that it is a type of change in which new substance is formed, I want you to take note of this. Because new substance is formed during chemical change. Chemical change is also known as irreversible change. Irreversible. Irreversible means you cannot reverse the process. What it's changed to, you cannot change it back to what it was before. Now we are going to try a quick home experiment. You can also do that to understand the idea of chemical change. When we say that you cannot reverse the process and a new substance is formed. Look at this. This is paper. Is that not so? This paper. Now I have this. This is lighter. In the lighter, you have a gas in it. This thing that is moving like liquid is gas. Are you following? Now the gas supports burning. If I press here now, there will be what we call ignition will occur and fire will come out. You can see the fire. So I'm going to burn this paper. Now let us see what will happen when I set this paper on fire. Then what we are going to get, what this paper will change to. I'm going to ask you a question. Can you change that thing back to this paper? Now I would have to be careful so that I don't burn my hand. So let's watch. Are you ready? This is the paper. Now I want to light. Alright, so let's watch and see. It's burning. So I'm going to collect what is going to form from there. Alright. You could see some things dropping. You can see some things dropping. So that is the new substance formed. Alright. Alright. Very funny. I almost got burned. So you want to be careful when you're doing this at home. But my interest is what the paper changed to. I no longer have that paper because it has burnt. But let me show you another form of the paper. This was what I burnt. This was the type of paper I burnt. You can see that. Look at it. Now this is what I got after burning. So chemical change has taken place. You can see this is ashes. Let me try to pack them up and you see. Do you see this? Oh my God, it has stained my fingers. So just look at. If you hold this, it's changing to something like powder. So can you be able to change these ashes back to this paper? Not at all. So what has just happened here is a chemical change. New substance has been formed, which is ash, and I cannot change these ashes back to this paper. Alright, so let's see. Good. You can try something like this at home. So it will help you to understand what you've learned. It is a science process. Chemical change. Now we are going to define some things, some words, some terms that we used when we were talking about physical change. Something like melting, what is it? Freezing, condensation, evaporation, and vaporization. Let us define them, know their meaning. In this video, we have some terms we are going to define, some words that we used, especially when I was explaining what physical change is. So the words we're going to define, we have them on the board. All right. One of them is melting. Melting is defined as the process by which solid changes to liquid. So whenever you see solid changing to liquid, what is happening in the process is called melting. An example is ice changing to water. The next is freezing. What is freezing? Freezing is the process by which liquid changes to what? Solid. Okay, now water changing to ice is a freezing process. Okay, the next term or word we want to define is vaporization. So vaporization is the process by which liquid changes to gas as a result of heating. Are you following, right? So remember that when heated, when you're talking about vaporization, you must heat. You will have to heat that liquid before the liquid will now change towards gas. The reason why it's important for you to take note of that word, when heated, is because we still have another process that does the same thing. But what differentiates that process from vaporization is heating. In vaporization, you heat. But in the other process I'm talking about, number 6 here, evaporation, you don't heat. We are coming to that anyway. Example of vaporization, where liquid changes to steam or vapor by heating. We have water to vapor. You saw that as well too in the video. Condensation. Condensation is the process by which vapor will change towards liquid. Again, you watched that in that pot experiment where we heated the water. You saw how some of the vapor were collected on the surface of the cover of the container, that's the cover of the pot, and they turned to liquid. That gas, that vapor, all right, that was going out, some of them, they collided, they hit the container, that's the cover of the container, and then they turn back to liquid. Okay, so when vapor or gas changes to liquid, we call that process what? Condensation. Sublimation is another process. I'm sorry about that. We could not demonstrate it because the chemicals we need, they are not available to us. Okay, but sublimation is simply the process where solid changes directly to gas. It will not pass through liquid state before, it will just go to gas directly. An example is iodine crystals changing to iodine vapor. Then number 6, evaporation. Evaporation is the process by which liquid changes to vapor without heating. I'll give you a good example. If you have a well in your house, please make sure that maybe there is someone around there to watch you, so you don't go play around well, so you don't fall into it, okay? But very early in the morning, just open the well. If you usually cover it, open the well and then look. You must not bend, like just stand and look down. You will see, something coming out of the well like smoke. Are you following, right? Like smoke. That is vapor. It's water that is evaporating. But did anybody heat that well, like set fire to heat the well? No. Again, if you go to a stream, okay, or a river very early in the morning, you would also see this thing I just explained. You see vapor going up from the surface of the river, of the stream, that is of the water. Now nothing is hitting that water, that stream, nothing is hitting it. But you could see vapor going off. That process is called evaporation. Liquid changing to vapor without heating. So you can see that without what? Heating. That's the difference between evaporation and vaporization. Please take note of this and put it down. The temperature at which freezing occurs is known as freezing point. Then the temperature at which vaporization occurs, is known as boiling point. In our next class, we are going to be looking at another aspect of science, where we'll deal with organisms, plants, and animals.